That's you answered a little bit earlier, and I'll go deeper into it. It's that you shouldn't talk about your giving, right? I think that's the biggest myth in the world. Now, what I said personally, what I do anonymously because that's what I want to support. But as a business, man, the more people that start talking about the impact that they're making with their companies, the more people are going to want to buy from them, and the more impact they're going to be able to make. Not talking revenue. I'm not saying, hey, giving is going to make you more money today, and it will. But what I'm saying is if I can attract, this is like the classic sales thing, it's like if you have a better product than somebody else in the world and you're not selling it to them, you're doing a disservice to the world, right? Everybody says that in the sales world of like, you're doing a disservice by not promoting your product harder. Well, it's the same thing for giving. You're doing a disservice for the nonprofits, for the impact that you can do by not promoting it.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Expert. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Randy Molland. And Randy, we're going to be talking about a few great areas of expertise, including fractional chief giving officer, and also how you go about adding a giving component to your business, and what or why giving can help your business, and also how to grow your network faster and better. So it should be some great areas of conversation. And with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, Randy.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to get into it again.
Absolutely. And so for those that haven't caught it, Randy was a guest on our sister podcast, The Inventive Journey. And so definitely encourage you to go check out his full episode there. Now, for those in the audience that haven't had a chance to catch the full episode yet, take just a minute or two and introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, my name's Randy Molland. I'm the founder of an organization called Go Big to Give Big, where we are inspiring entrepreneurs to go bigger with their dreams and goals so they can give bigger with their profits. And that all stemmed from a real estate journey where I got burnt out and exhausted chasing money and found there was a way bigger purpose in life, which was adding a giving component to all the revenue sources that I make inside my entrepreneurial world, so that as I make more money and scale my business, so does the impact on the other end, which in turn inspires me to build my business bigger. And instead of chasing financial freedom and getting burnt out, I chase impact and get inspired.
Awesome. Well, that is a great introduction and definitely a great intro to your journey. Encourage people to catch the full journey. Now, for today's podcast, we focus on a bit of the areas of expertise, and I think that you hit on an interesting area. In the one sense, I think most people, if not all, want to have a giving component of their business, and on the other hand, they're also saying, "Hey, we're in the business to make money." You have investors or shareholders, you have to be accountable to them. And they're saying, hey, just to give things away, just to be nice, while it is a great goal, is going to be difficult to justify for those that are looking, or for those that are shareholders or invested their time, money, and effort to build a business. And yet I think there is certainly an aspect of being able to do that both makes sense on the business front, as well as gives you the ability to give back and contribute in a larger way. And so walk us through, because maybe the first thing in no particular order is, how do you add giving component to your business such that it makes sense for your business, or that it lines up both with your values but also makes sense business wise?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, so we'll do our best to make it simple and easy for your audience. Basically, what it is this isn't meant to be something you put into your business that crushes your business so that it takes away all your profit, right? This is meant to be added to your business to inspire you to create more revenue, to make more money than you've ever made before, but also make more impact than you've ever made before. So I want to be clear about that. And oftentimes that means coming into your business and finding a new product or service that you can start selling that we implemented into, or if you're just starting your business, doing it from the very beginning. The other side of it is that we really like to look at how the statistics impact the sales of the products and services that you're offering. There's some stats out there that say 89% of consumers are more likely to purchase from an organization or a company that has a giving component versus one that doesn't. 89%, pretty big statistic. The second one is 80% of consumers.
Sorry. With that statistic, if I were to push back or I don't know, pushback sounds like I disagree with you, which I don't. But if I were to put the lawyer hat on, where I could see that, if I were to play devil's advocate, is, hey, that's great. Yeah, if everything else is the same. So in other words, prices are the same, quality is the same. Sure, I'm happy to support a business that has a giving component as opposed to one that doesn't. But as soon as that giving component costs me more as a consumer, or I have to pay more, or I'm supporting a inferior product because they're cutting their quality in order to add that giving component, anywhere that it now makes it so that I am not getting the same quality for the same price, then I don't care about supporting it. So is that true, or how does that impact the statistics?
Yeah, it's always a challenging thing, right? When people are filling out these statistical figures, oftentimes they're filling out a poll, and it's a lot easier to say that's what I want versus what you actually do, right?
Yeah.
But so in that instance, yes, you have to provide a superior product and a superior quality and be the best and at the giving component. I've found in my journey a stat that was beta tested and sent out that said 55% of consumers are willing to pay more and work with an organization that had a giving component versus one that doesn't, right? So at the end of the day, when I look at a lot of these stats, where I was going from the other one was that 80% of consumers are more likely to remember the name of your brand if you had a giving component versus one that doesn't. And they're 4.5 times more likely to recommend you versus somebody else if you have the giving component. So what all that means is I'm not sitting here tracking every transaction from A company to B company. But what I'm saying is that consumers are saying that's the trend they want. So if the numbers are that statistically high and you have a slighter better chance of closing more deals, making more impact, and doing more good, wouldn't you want to step into that opportunity versus not? Even if statistically those numbers don't 100% line up, if it was only 40% of people that were more interested, if it was only 25% of people that were willing to pay more, isn't that still improving your business and improving your ability to get out there and share what you're doing, and also inspiring you to talk more about the product and service that you do in a way that has impact more than just a sales process? So that's really where I go with that, is how do we leverage the giving initiatives and the statistics behind it to give you a better chance to do that? And one of the things that we found is in the know, like, and trust process of selling yourself. If I go to you and say, Devin, I've got a really cool real estate investment opportunity, this is what it looks like, and you're going to make 18% returns. You're like, cool, sounds good. If I come to you and say, Devin, I've got a really cool investment opportunity, it's going to get you 18% returns. But one of the amazing things that us as the general partner supports kids going through sports. And every time that we go and buy a 30-unit building, we're able to help one kid go through organized sport every single month. And we're so inspired by that because when we were playing sports, it gave us leadership skills and teamwork skills, and a lot of us gave us more life skills. So if you are interested in not only getting some great returns, working with an awesome team, but also joining us on our impact on trying to support more kids to go through sport, we'd love to share the opportunity with you. Which one are you more likely to want to hear from? Right? We offered the same thing, but I got somebody in the door first, right? Once they're in the door, I can then share the know, like, and trust of who we are and what we do. So I actually sell the impact of what we're doing more than the actual product that we're selling. And I do that because it creates a human to human connection. When I'm talking to you, you can relate. You probably in some capacity of that pitch went, yeah, I love sports. Or yeah, that makes a lot of sense that it kept you off the streets and from, getting up with the wrong gangs because you're too busy playing sports, or that it gave you leadership skills, or something in that capacity made you like what I said, or just the fact that I was giving back, versus just the pitch of here's the return that you're going to get and we're going to make you so much money. Some people that lands, but also what it does is it filters out a lot of the people that I don't want to work with. I personally don't want to work with just greedy, hungry people that just want to make the most amount of money and are not willing to look at the impact on the other end and are willing to cut throat people and willing to, not go down the path of impact. It eliminates a lot of those people out of my life and just brings the people that I want to work with into my life.
No, I think that certainly makes sense. Now, kind of maybe following up a little bit on that, one of the things I would anticipate or guess, and I said not knowing all the businesses, and you're certainly the expert, would be is, sometimes they're saying, hey, I'd like to have a giving component. Now the question is it something that we do anonymous and we never let anybody know? In other words, we are doing it purely altruistically, or are we doing it as still altruistic, but I also want to be able to use it as marketing or PR, or let clients or customers know, even if it's with the best of intentions, so that you get more notoriety. And kind of how do you figure out, I guess it's a two-part question, which always makes me more, is what kind of program you should offer, what kind of offering you should do, and then also how you do or don't promote it, or how you leverage it or don't leverage it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're always going to get haters no matter what you do. The one thing that I distinguish is that what I do personally, what Randy Molland donates and what Randy Molland supports, nobody knows. That's me personally doing it anonymously. Oftentimes I make donations to GoFundMe's and my friends, and I don't even write my name on it. I love that aspect of it. What I do is my business I use to promote others to want to work with us to make more impact. If I believe that my company has an ability to make a bigger impact, I want to get that out there compared to another company that doesn't have the same amount of ability to make the impact. I want customers to work with me because we can team up together to support more causes and do more good. And we see that through Tom's Shoes came out first time ever with a model that said, you buy a pair of shoes, I'm going to give a pair of shoes away. And they blew up to become a multi-millionaire, multi-$100 million company. And you're like, wow, that's incredible. Theirs was in their business model from 1-to-1. But you never heard what Blake Mycoskie was donating to personally. You only heard about what the business did. So that's the concept that I believe in, is that I want people to know what we're doing because it attracts the right people to me. It makes people aware of what we're doing, and it supports the causes that we're going with. Because now I can publicly speak about helping Kids Sport Victoria because I love kids and I love sports. Now I get them more awareness and I get them more support. So not only is it helping me grow my brand, but I'm also bringing more awareness to the nonprofits that I'm supporting. So there's multiple things that go into it. And I do get that quite often from people. Like, well, now you just sound like somebody that's salesy and slimy, just trying to leverage giving back to market. 100%. If you are inauthentic in what you're doing, that will come out in your messaging and marketing. If you're authentic in what you're doing in your messaging and marketing, that will come out that way as well. And people can sniff that out in seconds. When people work with me, they know the impact that we're trying to make is the most important thing. If somebody else is just using it for a marketing scam, you'll get picked up pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Makes perfect sense. So let me follow up with that, and because and now this feels like some opportunity to invite you to pitch your product, but it's not. But the question I would have if I was sitting in the business shoes is, okay, let's say I bought in, we want to have a giving component. We want to have an ability to give back to the community or support a great cause or something that will both, help with our business in marketing, but also to support a great cause and to help them along as well. So in other words, it's a win-win. Now my question would be is why couldn't we just do a easy giving component? In other words, what role does a fractional chief or giving officer give? So they couldn't just have, hey, the marketing person, and I'm making it up, X, Y, and Z that they already have on the team that is already working on marketing. They'll just create an initiative. In other words, what value does it have in having someone that has experience, that has focus, that has the background, and otherwise can maybe make it a better experience? So kind of walk us through a little bit of what value that adds.
Yeah, the idea for a fractional chief giving officer came when I ran a mastermind supporting 50 entrepreneurs that wanted to add giving components to their businesses. That's why they joined this mastermind. I brought in expert teachers. I did a bunch of trainings on it. I did one-on-one calls to give everyone the initiative of how they could add a giving component to their business today. When we did our live event 6 months later, and I stood in the front of the room and said, who here has officially implemented the giving model and is actually giving back today? About 10 to 15% of the room raised their hand. And I was like, oh, that hurt me, right? I just poured my heart into these people for 6 months, but nothing was getting to happen. That's when I realized that small to medium-sized business owners don't have the ability to think and leverage the giving opportunities. Whereas big organizations can hire someone like a fractional chief giving officer, an impact officer, or somewhere in that space. They have the ability to hire someone full-time to manage those. Small to medium-sized businesses don't. So like any good researcher or scientist, I went in to ask all these people, well, why didn't you implement? And every single time it was because they didn't know what charity to support, right? So we can't even pick a Netflix show, let alone trying to choose a charity that we want to support with all the different reasons behind it. As soon as we finished our calls, they got distracted in their business and the giving initiative got dropped down to the very bottom because it didn't technically bring them more revenue today, right? And the third thing was that they just didn't know where to start. They didn't know how to move their money. They didn't know how to donate it. They didn't know how to market it in a way that didn't sound slimy, salesy, and gross. So that's when I decided, well, you need somebody to manage all that for you. That's why people will hire a fractional chief giving officer. You don't hire me to come out with the ideas. I'm sure today, Devin, you can come up with 4 ideas that you want to do. You hire me to actually implement the initiative into your business, grow the messaging and marketing, come up with the ideas, find the charities, source them out for you, listen to what you actually want, what inspires you, what impacts you, go and source some charities, make sure, vet them, check them, and then stay on to just make sure that all your initiatives are running smooth, work with your accounting teams and make sure that everything is all dialed in for you so that you can run your business 100% the way you are meant to run it as the owner, operator, CEO, or whatever you are. And I am meant to be just like your accountant or your bookkeeper. For the same reasons you don't do them, you outsource that. It's the same for us. You outsource it so that we can take care of the impact initiatives in your business versus you trying to come up with it on your end.
No, makes perfect sense. Not just to, again, feels like it's giving you an opportunity to pitch for your service, but it's really just intended to better understand how you might set it up. Is this one where, as a fractional giving officer or chief giving officer, is it one where you also, or you just simply set up the initiative? Or because a lot of it is also, sometimes even if you set up an initiative and it's great and it helps out the community and it would be a good thing, if you never share it with the audience, one, you're not going to have the impact of people giving. And 2, you're also, as a business sense, you're not going to have the return on investment that you're probably looking for. And so do you help to manage it, whether it's letting people know on social and website and, events and everything else? Or kind of how do you go about making sure that people actually know about it? So it's not just the component of giving, but actually are letting the others know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few different things. Like I run a little bit of a coaching program. It's like a 4-week program where it's actually like a workbook because it's what I learned. I can't just tell people how to do it. I actually have to make them work through it. So I've got a little program where it's actually a workbook where they go through and they create it. That's how people can actually start implementing it today, but don't need to hire us on to do all their giving initiatives, right? Here's the actual tangibles that you can put in today. What's the charity? We'll work together for 4 weeks in a group coaching session, and we'll make sure that everyone leaves with the giving component initiated with the giving back initiatives. On the other side, when they hire us as a fractional chief giving officer, we technically stay on for a bit of a retainer for the first few months to make sure everything's running smooth. And more often than not, people just hire us on the back end as a retainer, no different than you do for your accountant, your bookkeeper, your COO, your, whatever you need. We just become another service to your industry because of that reason. Your business is changing all the time. Your products are changing all the time. Maybe you want to look for a different charity and then you go, oh, I don't want to hire Randy again for a whole new service. No, we're just on retainer. We're in the back end managing their impact. We're making sure that all the donations are getting made, and we'll go as deep or as far as you want. It's kind of a done for you service, right? So we work with a lot of bookkeepers and accountants so that they let us know, or we work with them and say, hey, we're going to make a $5,000 donation to this charity based on this amount, or how many of these products were sold. Awesome. We know how much to donate. How are we going to divvy that up? And that's where I'll call you and say, Devin, through this initiative, we've been able to make $10,000 worth of donations. Based on what I recommend, we can do this, 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 or this. Does that work for you? Does that not work for you? So now we make it so it's just a simple decision for people as opposed to actually having to be involved in what we're doing. So that's how we stay on retainer for a very, limited resource. We're not involved in your business day to day, but that's also why nobody can hire someone full-time to do it. That's why we fractionalized it to build it up front, come up with the main initiatives, the main charities, the main products and services, and then run a retainer on the back end so that we can continue supporting them when they need it. And this isn't a pitch. This is just how every business should be ran that runs a fractional service. You have to make sure, when you hire a COO, they come in and they do a bunch of work, but you're still going to need some support along the way to come in and do that. When you hire a fractional CFO, they're going to come in and get your finances organized, but then you still need them to help you run it along the way. So it's the same kind of thing as that.
No, that makes perfect sense, and sounds like a great setup and a great option for a lot of businesses. Now, this is maybe one question that we didn't hit on when we chatted a little bit before the podcast, but the one that kind of came to mind, which is now a lot of different sizes of business, everything from a startup to a small business to a large business to a medium-sized business, and basically everything in between. Is there a time that that you should be not considering doing this? In other words, hey, we're not at the size or the maturity level of a business to do a giving component, or should you build it in from the front end, or kind of how do you go about making the decision or determination, hey, we're arrived at X, Y, and Z point or milestone that now it makes sense to add that giving component into the business?
Yeah, I strongly recommend everyone add it into the beginning of the business because then it's like profit first. When you start taking your profits out, it's what you'll build into your business as it continues to grow. And no different than paying taxes. If you have to pay tax at the end of the year, you pull money out of your accounts regardless. So it's the same for giving. But one of the things that I share with a lot of people is people think they have to donate tens of thousands of dollars to make an impact in this world. What I teach people is that it's not how much you give, it's that you give. And that when you start adding it at the beginning of your business, even if it's a very, very small amount, it allows you to start building the principles of core values into your business. And the perfect example of this is what we call the law of reciprocity, right? When we give something, we get something. That's simple as it is. So in that statement, when we give something, we get something in return. That statement doesn't say, hey, once you've made $100,000, that's when you can go donate. What I perceive to hear from that is, hey, if I start giving even $1 today and show God that He is putting the money into the right person to do the work, that He'll continue to pour more work into me. So if I show my giving initiative first and say, I'm going to give $1 today, and then as we scale, that's going to grow, He'll keep putting people into my pipeline because He knows that I'm doing good, versus me saying, once I have 100 people in my pipeline, then I'll start giving. Well, maybe your pipeline won't get as full as quickly in an energetical, spiritual kind of way.
Awesome. No, makes perfect sense, and sounds like some good guidance for businesses. And I think it's kind of like everything else. You build it in, especially the first, and you put that as part of your initiative. It's much easier to continue that on and to have that as part of the business model than doing it after the fact. Now, not to say you can't do it after the fact, and you can certainly go in and still expand that as a business area. But I think that's a great piece of advice and some great guidance. So. Well, now it feels like the time has flown by, and we're still just scratching the surface, and we're already reaching towards the end of the episode. But I always like to wrap up each episode with the same question, so we'll jump to that now, which is: so now within your industry, what is the biggest myth, and why is it wrong?
That's you answered a little bit earlier, and I'll go deeper into it. It's that you shouldn't talk about your giving, right? I think that's the biggest myth in the world. Now, what I said personally, what I do anonymously because that's what I want to support. But as a business, man, the more people that start talking about the impact that they're making with their companies, the more people are going to want to buy from them, and the more impact they're going to be able to make. Not talking revenue. I'm not saying, hey, giving is going to make you more money today, and it will. But what I'm saying is, if I can attract, this is like the classic sales thing. It's like if you have a better product than somebody else in the world and you're not selling it to them, you're doing a disservice to the world, right? Everybody says that in the sales world of like, you're doing a disservice by not promoting your product harder. Well, it's the same thing for giving. You're doing a disservice for the nonprofits, for the impact that you can do by not promoting it. And I heard this quote and it stuck with me forever. And it says, I couldn't imagine having the ability to do something bigger than myself and not acting on it. So I couldn't imagine having that ability of doing something bigger in my business, but not acting on it because I was scared that I might not be looked at properly for talking about my giving. I believe the world is completely changing when we see stats that say 89, 90%, 94% of all businesses and people want, or all consumers want businesses to give back. That's saying people want to know what your business is doing. They want to know how you're supporting people. They want to know that you're not just a capitalist anymore. So that is the myth that I believe can be debunked very easily by just starting to actually use your business to make impact as opposed to being hiding from it because you're scared that it's not the right thing to do.
No, I think that's definitely a great myth to dispel, and I think it's one that a lot of people struggle with because it almost feels like, hey, you shouldn't be touting the if you're giving, then you should be doing it anonymously. But I think that as you dispel that myth, one is it still has to make business sense, and oftentimes if it's purely anonymous from a individual perspective, it can often make sense. From a business perspective, not so much, but even more so, you can shed a lot of light on a lot of great causes by being a champion for it, by promoting it, by sharing it. And if you keep that completely anonymous or out of the limelight, nobody's ever going to know about it, and it's the charity's going to suffer. So I love that myth, or dispelling that myth, and the great takeaway. So now, as we wrap up the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to gobigtogivebig.com is the main website. But honestly, I love LinkedIn. I'm spending a lot of time there. I personally manage it myself. And so if you want to connect with me, hit me up on LinkedIn. Send me a message that's appealing and not just requesting, because I do get quite a few requests, but I want to hear, say I heard you on, Devin Miller's podcast, and I'd really love to connect with you or chat with you. I love chatting with people that this has inspired them or motivated them. And that's where I spend a lot of time, just connecting with people, chatting with them. And oftentimes I send voice memos saying, hey, what's your business? I'll just give you the giving component now and teach you how to add it in. And I can do that in seconds in a voice memo for people. So I give away a lot of value in DMs on places like Instagram and LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. We'll definitely encourage people to reach out, make a new connection, support a great business. If nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's been a fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you that are listeners are out there, if you can help us reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success, just make sure to click share or leave us a review, click share, click subscribe. Really helps us to help those businesses along their journey to success. And on that note, if along your journey you ever need help with patents or trademarks or anything else with your startup or your small business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Randy, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you.